Also tonight, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs accused of sex trafficking and sexual assault in a lawsuit filed in federal court here in New York.
New lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs, bringing some serious claims against the music mogul, brought by his former longtime girlfriend.
Puffy might be the destination for anybody who's going nowhere. Nobody's alive.
Diddy's troubles are not about to go anywhere anytime soon, because even if there was any plan for a soft landing, 50 Cent won't let him. 50 is out for blood, and he just recently revealed how Diddy abused Cassy in an exclusive video that everyone had forgotten even existed. But you can't blame 50. Brother Love has been digging his own grave for years. His history of abuse would fill a spreadsheet from the White House down to Connecticut. And in this video, we'll be breaking down every last bit of it. What is this video that 50 has that could end Diddy? Why are the odds stacked so high against Brother Love? And is there a way he could come out of this a free man? Let's find out. Cassy.
What a beautiful dress.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to ask you, can't wait to see 3 a.m.
Yes.
The controversy.
Yeah.
How can we get a tape of this?
Oh, I'm going to send it to you. I will email it to you.
Email me the whole thing.
Yes,
I love
yes,
it. I love that you constantly crushing the glass ceiling, or crushing the
Yeah,
black
yeah.
ceiling.
If you know the context of this video, if you know what the 3 a.m. video is, and what Diddy was promising to email to Andre, you will know that Cassy literally escaped a nightmare when she left him. And the 3 a.m. video was basically an extension of all that. But that's a wild claim to make. So what's the proof? More specifically, what proof would someone like 50 Cent have that would quite probably have ended Diddy if he allowed Cassy to take him to trial? It's an interesting question that will take us down memory lane if you were in tune with the times back in the early 90s. I'm talking 1991, and this ain't even about Cassy, because we're about to chart out a very toxic element of Diddy's incredibly toxic persona. The woman in question was some lady named Joy Dickerson Neal, and her claim against Diddy came while she was in college and when he was still a talent agent. This was before Bad Boy Records was even a thing, before Diddy got his autonomy. So she says that she had gone on a date with him, and that while they was on that date, Diddy had spiked her drink. She knows this because when he drove her to his music studio, she couldn't walk, and it was during all of that he made a move on her and assaulted her. But hey, wait, remember, this is a video about videos and sex tapes, because it turns out that Diddy not only committed assault on her, he filmed it, and then he sent it to 2 of his homies. How does she know this, you ask? Well, because Devontae Swing, member of the R&B group Jodeci, told her. This is not hearsay. This shit is documented, and the individuals that said these things are alive and haven't gone back on their statements. And hey, if this sounds new to you and you're wondering why the lady didn't go to the police with it when it happened, well, her reason was simple: shame and the fear that she would lose out to win a record deal that Diddy promised her. Now draw that same link through the 90s, through the creation of Bad Boy, its rise, dominance, and eventually leading up to Cassy. The common denominator is Diddy using promises of record deals to control the artists, mostly female, that he wanted to assault. That's why he gave Cassy a 10-year album deal from the jump. It was unheard of at the time. I mean, I have nothing against the lady, but she wasn't much of a singer, and that's being generous. She couldn't write shit. She could dance, but it wasn't anything special. But she was fine as hell, and that's all Diddy cared about. Diddy wanted her, so he did the most diabolical shit he could to get her. And when he had her to keep her, Diddy resorted to blackmail. Before we get to what 50 heard and saw, let's talk about what Cassy said in her lawsuit. Now, in the lawsuit, Cassy stated clearly that Diddy had forced her to have sex with male escorts while he watched and jacked off to her.
That girl went through some tumultuous shit that she never thought that she would ever have to go through being in the music business. Do you understand that?
But it gets even worse, because Diddy forced Cassy to find the male hookers herself. And before she would sleep with them, he drugged her. And finally, like he had done to the lady from college, filmed all of it. My mother always told me many people won't tell the same lie all the time. So for the Diddy apologists out there, what's up? How do y'all explain this? And before you answer, know that there's more. Because those tapes that Diddy shot were used as collateral. Really, it was blackmail material. Anytime she threatened to leave, he threatened to send it out. And eventually, he did. Because in 2010, during a radio interview with DJ Woo Kid on Shade 45, 50 Cent would talk about a similar tape that he saw that made him call Diddy's relationship with Cassy into question. At first, 50 wasn't even aware that Diddy knew the pictures existed, because they were sent to his personal phone from an unknown source. And they were nasty. Very nasty. In his own words, they were not the shit that y'all saw. Worse, way worse. Like penetration pictures. Now, when you think of who 50 is and how short the list of people who would have direct contact to his personal number, then you know it was either Diddy or someone close to Diddy that sent it to him. But like I said before, Diddy didn't know that. In fact, he immediately called Diddy to inform him about it.
You fucking with this girl, like you really, like you like her like that? And he was like, yeah, that's my girl. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna send you something. You look at it, you call me back.
So 50 Cent sent him the pictures, and Diddy called back saying that the images had been obtained by his guys and that it was a mistake or something like that. But 50, who already knew the type of nigga that Diddy was, knew that that wasn't the case. Diddy had taken those images as collateral for Cassy. It was his way of keeping her his girl, and that was probably the moment where 50's total disregard for Diddy began. The beginning of it all was the shopping incident.
Then he was like, yo, so when we gonna get the chance to, to kick it, like we could just hang out. And he was like, yo, why don't we like go shopping? I mean, like, I pay for it. And I was like, this just said.
Because you can bet as hell that if it was Rick Ross he had seen that shit about, he wouldn't have cared. I mean, 50 Cent had used sex tapes against Rick Ross, so the fact was 50 could see that the girl was in danger. He could see that Diddy's relationship with Cassy was worse than a sham. It was the most destructive thing ever. And the images he sent to Diddy for confirmation was all the proof he needed. But there had always been signs that Diddy himself would post on IG for the world to see. Like that time Cassy was hiding under the sheets to escape Diddy.
What you gotta say now? What you gotta say now? You ain't got shit to say.
True, you could argue that nothing here proves or shows any proof of abuse. But if you'd known what Diddy did to the lover he had before Cassy, if you knew what he did to the mother of his children, if you were aware of what he did to Kim Porter, you wouldn't be questioning the context of that IG video. You would know that Diddy was the most manipulative, diabolical type of serial abuser. Kim Porter.
Hey, what's up, y'all? We interrupt your browsing for this emergency announcement. This is my girl, Kim, my lovely girlfriend, KP, Kim Porter.
Let me paint the picture for you. The year is 2005, and by this time, Diddy and Kim Porter had been for more than 10 years. Well, technically, they had been, like she said, in an on and off relationship for more than a decade. During one of those momentary periods they were together, Diddy heard a rumor. The rumor was that Kim had gotten into a relationship with a colleague of Diddy in the industry. So Diddy lured her to St. Tropez, rented a yacht, and led Kim on with the idea they were about to have a good time. That was not the case. Bodyguards would report hearing loud arguments from 2 a.m. By 7 a.m., it devolved into a beatdown. In the aftermath of it all, Diddy had beaten Kim so bad he broke her nose. So Diddy flew in a specialist surgeon from Geneva to repair her nose and keep her out of the public eye until it had healed enough. But it gets crazier because if you tried searching for this story online, you would find absolutely nothing. Articles like The Sun that ran the story suddenly no longer have the story. And images of Kim from that time that had the model with a bandage on her nose have almost been completely wiped off the internet. This is just one of the last surviving images. My theory, Diddy went to great lengths to clean his digital footprint to ensure that there was no trace. Because when it happened in 2005, it was a big deal. And he knew he f***ed up. But hey, you don't have to take my word or the word of some newspaper. Gene Deal also spoke on it.
Did you hear about the fact that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht?
Wow, I didn't hear about that.
He broke Kim, let's say allegedly, but it was told by people in her camp that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht.
The former bad boy artist Mark Curry would say the exact same thing. He says he witnessed the crazy relationship that Kim had with Diddy, how he beat her repeatedly, and how she suffered a lot more in his hands. When the Art of Dialogue would ask him if Diddy had broken Kim's nose, this was his response.
Speaking of Kim Porter, because you knew Kim Porter, is it true that Diddy broke her nose?
Bust the nose, man.
Many of the Diddy apologists have said that Mark is only talking shit about Diddy because of their fight over publishing rights. Well, my answer to that is simple. There is no one who has worked with Diddy that didn't have issues over publishing at some point. And if you've been following this story up until this point, then you've already noticed the pattern. Because just like he did to Cassy, Diddy would also wiretap Kim Porter's phone. Mark Curry would even say, anytime a man would go out his way to wiretap someone's phone or put taps in their homes just to monitor their conversations, that's a sign of insanity. And it's not just Kim and Cassy. Misa Hilton has also suffered violence at the hands of Diddy. Misa is the mother of Diddy's oldest son, Justin. But it gets wilder because Mark would also claim that when Diddy hosted parties, he had separate drinks for his female guests. These bottles were infused with substances that made them real slippery. If the music industry was a person, it would be Diddy. Because just when you think the rot is deep, Diddy surprises you by going even lower. And that's why Gene insists that Kim's story is Cassy's story. The latter just got a happy ending while the former died. But there's nuance here. And what I'm about to say is incredibly sensitive, but it needs to be said. Sometimes there's no helping the abused because they are drawn in too deep and make excuses for their abusers. Point in case, after the nose busting incident, when she was asked what happened to her nose, she would respond that she mistakenly smashed it into a table. But hey, maybe it was true. And maybe she wasn't actually covering for Diddy's abuse on her. But then, let's fast forward 2 years to 2007. Kim was pregnant with their 2 girls when she caught Diddy cheating on her. She called things off after that incident, but in the interview she gave, it sounded like she was trying to make him feel sorry for cheating on her and not actually taking the responsibility to move on from an abuser who unfortunately was the father of her kids. In the interview with Essence, she said, "I wanted to be dramatic. I wanted him to know I wasn't breaking up with him for 2 weeks, or maybe leaving for 2 days. But what was even worse was the fact that Diddy had had a baby with this other woman 5 months before Kim gave birth to their twins. And they had a history that went as far back as Tupac. This was deep, but Diddy would eventually come clean to Kim. And after this event, they broke up for good. Now, if you were in Kim's shoes, what would you do in this situation? If your answer is to detach yourself emotionally from this monster of a man while you try your best to be there for the kids who unfortunately have to have a man like that as their father, we are in the same group chat. Unfortunately, Kim did the exact opposite. She would tell Essence that she remained good friends with Diddy. Her exact words: "Sean and I have this bond, this friendship." We all know how the Kim Porter story ended. I hinted it earlier if you're new to this. Cassy was able to get out because she recognized she was with an abuser that was stopping her from escaping. Kim wasn't that lucky.
Former model and longtime girlfriend of entertainer Sean Diddy Combs, Kim Porter, was laid to rest yesterday in her hometown of Columbus, Georgia. Funeral taking place at Cascade Hills Church. Porter leaves behind 3 children with Combs and an older son by singer Al B. Shore.
Kim Porter died, and as you would expect, the first instinct of the general public that had been following their case up until their death felt Diddy was responsible. But when the autopsy came back, the results were death from pneumonia, and Diddy wasn't in proximity with her when she was found dead, so why were people convinced he took her life? Well, it might have something to do with the book that Kim Porter was allegedly writing at the time of her death.
It was alleged that she did have a book and that her book was about to come out. And she was talking about all the perils, everything that she went through in the music business and with Diddy.
This book was supposedly a thorough breakdown of her relationship with Diddy. It was going to be a tell-all book, the kind that would send the fear of the devil up the spine of someone like Diddy. The kind of tell-all book that was coming from a source credible enough to bring down Diddy. If it was Kim Porter talking about Diddy's gay relationships, him giving Usher an STD, Mary J. Blige having a kid for Diddy and having an abortion, the sexcapades and his revolting kinks, no one would doubt it. No one would doubt it the way some folks doubt Cassy. And it's not like I'm saying they really doubt Cassy. I just feel they aren't taking her seriously enough, especially after she took a $30 million settlement. Maybe if y'all heard what the men had to say, maybe then you'd listen. The men.
He tried it on me, so I know it's true. I got a phone call in the middle of the night, about 2:30 in the morning. It was, my wife says, pick up the phone. It was an unknown number.
It was Diddy. The story that Columbus Short would tell here is eerily similar to the countless others that other men in the industry who have had the unfortunate fate of crossing paths with Diddy would also tell. The man swung both ways, one into the bedroom and the other way into the closet.
Hey man, we didn't see what the BET Awards, you know, what you doing? I'm like, I'm in bed with my wife. He said, I'm at the Beverly Hills Hilton, the Beverly Hills Hotel. I said, what's up? I said, who over there? He said, just me.
Diddy was sure trying to stomp his yard, and while Short was smart enough to not bite the bait, not many artists have been lucky. I have already dropped a couple of alleged names, but there's more. There's enough evidence to suggest he was doing something similar with Ja Rule. Why else do you think 50 Cent hates the dude so much? The incident in question had to do with butt plugs, a female rapper, Ja Rule, and Diddy in a hotel's presidential suite somewhere in Atlanta. Gene Deal was the one standing guard at the door while they was doing God knows what. What's funny is that he didn't even know at that time that there was a sex experiment going on behind those closed doors. It was until someone knocked on the front door.
Next thing you know, somebody rang the doorbell. We had the presidential suite where we was at. So I opened the door and the dude said, yo, I'm here for my cousin. I said, who your cousin? And he said, Ja Rule.
Gene Deal went into defensive mode almost immediately and stopped this cousin. But the cousin wasn't having it. And after a brief back and forth, Gene was forced to throw the cousin on a piano that got the attention of both Puff and Ja Rule inside.
When I threw him into the piano, Puff and Ja Rule runs out the room. Puff got his towel, Ja grabbing his towel, but they butt the naked.
Both men were terrified, but both men were obviously naked. Were they on a devil's threesome, or was the devil right there with them in the room? We can't know for sure, but Ja Rule would give Gene a clue when he found out why his cousin was pinned down on a piano by Diddy's bodyguard.
Yo, Ja said, you ain't want to go in that room, because there's a lot of freaking going on.
Notice I ain't even talk about 50 Cent, and we still got a case. It's endless, the number of men that have come out to point to Diddy's zestiness in his more than 3-decade career. And you see, the problem ain't about his sexuality. It's the fact that he most likely forces men that are not into that way to do things he wants. It's easier for him to abuse women, but it's not impossible for him to sexually abuse men, especially when he has something that they desperately need. If you don't believe me, then you have no idea how the industry works, because if you'd been listening, you would have heard people talk about it. People like Wendy Williams, who back in the 90s was a loudmouth radio disc jockey in New York City. During her reign as the queen of urban gossip, she frequently inferred that Diddy was gay. But then it reached a true peak in the mid-90s when Wendy got her hands on a photo that showed Diddy engaging in what looked like a sexual act with another man. The photo showed a man pulling down Diddy's shorts while he was on a yacht vacation in Cancun. It wasn't exactly proof that Diddy was gay, but it was enough proof to fuel the rumors enough to hurt his career, destroy his street cred, and make him a laughingstock in his duel with Suge Knight.
And we were on our way to the island of women. You understand? And this is all it was, bruh. For whatever reason, dude was playing with Puff. He went behind him and grabbed his trunks and pulled them down.
We were on our way. You must not forget that this was peak West Coast, East Coast beef. And even today, homophobia is normalized in hip hop. Even supposedly liberal, forward-thinking rappers like J. Cole still use homophobic slurs once in a while. So even if Diddy wanted to come out of his closet, and even if he had the support of his white daddies on Wall Street, he'd still be dead in the streets. No one would take him serious, and his businesses would eventually decline. Why else do you think Tyler Perry is always denying them allegations? Let's get back to the Wendy situation. Because when Diddy got wind of what she was planning, he got her fired.
Puff got one of the hottest DJs off of Hot 97 because she wanted to put up a picture of him getting his pants pulled down.
Now, Diddy and Wendy might have since reconciled, but that don't change nothing because she hasn't gone back on her word. Meanwhile, 50 still calls him gay every other Tuesday. And perhaps the most damning evidence against him is his own. Because you might not know this, but people believe Diddy has been dropping some hints about his sexuality in songs. His verse in the song Hope by Blood Orange is weird, but the video is even wilder because in it, two men are seen embracing while Diddy raps the lyrics. Sometimes I ask myself, like, what is it going to take for me not to be afraid to be loved the way like I really want to be loved, but that I know how I really want to be loved. But I'm like scared to really feel that. It's like you want something, but you don't know if you can handle it. Maybe one day I'll get over my fears and I'll receive. It doesn't get more on the nose than that. But perhaps the wildest point most people have against the man is this. Despite all the accusations and claims, there isn't one video anywhere where Diddy outrightly denies being gay.